Good morning, everybody. I am well aware that it is not the weekday, and usually these are accompanied by a radio show, but there were some important stories that broke over the weekend that I thought were important. One of which is the fact that early Friday, after I recorded the radio show, the Speaker of the House, Federal Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, was not home, and her husband was, and a right-wing essentially a fascist terrorist, domestic terrorist, broke in and beat her husband half to death with a hammer. The intruder confronted Paul Pelosi, 82, and shouting, "Where's Nancy? Where is Nancy?" The San Francisco Police Chief Bill Scott said in a statement on Friday that the suspect who was taken into custody is a 42-year-old David DePape, which to me tracks because this sounds like the type of conspiracy fascist right-wing addled bullshit that a Gen Xer or a boomer would believe. So it makes perfect sense to me. The Scott said that the police arrived at the Pelosi's home just before 2:30 a.m. Pacific time and observed Mr. Pelosi and the suspect both holding a hammer. The suspect pulled the hammer away from Mr. Pelosi and violently assaulted him with it. The officers immediately tackled the suspect, disarmed him, and took him into custody, requested emergency backup, and rendered medical aid. He said the investigation remains active and that the motive for the attack is still being determined. We know exactly what it is. It's political violence. Stop pussyfooting around. At a news conference on Friday evening, Scott said the attack on Paul Pelosi was intentional and not random. Our elected officials are here to do business of their cities, their counties, their states, and this nation. Their families did not sign up for this to be harmed, and it is wrong, and everybody should be disgusted about what's happening this morning. The Speaker of Pelosi's office said Friday afternoon that Paul Pelosi was taken to Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital, where he underwent successful surgery to repair the skull fracture and serious injuries to the right arm and hands. The doctor expected to make a full recovery. He was also taken to a local hospital, Scott said. Police would not disclose his medical condition. DePape will be booked in the San Francisco County Jail on the charges of attempted homicide with a deadly weapon, elder abuse, burglary, and several other related felonies, Scott said earlier that day. According to a family member traveling to San Francisco with the Speaker, the suspect brought the hammer and broke the windows of Pelosi's home facing the backyard. The family member said once inside, the suspect was trying to tie up Paul Pelosi and said that we would wait until Nancy got home. When the suspect wasn't looking, Paul called 911. The family member said Paul was home alone when he was hit in the head with a hammer multiple times. When the police arrived, the suspect said, "We are waiting for Nancy." The suspect appears to have operated a website on which he wrote a wide variety of posts touching on almost all manner of modern conspiracy theory, aliens, Jewish people, communism, vaccines, voter fraud, and many other topics. Two law enforcement officials said an early look at DePape's online footprint showed a recent blog post espousing ideas typically associated with far-right extremism, along with some liberal, anti-establishment. I fucking hate the MSM. Pelosi's office first revealed news of the attack in a statement earlier on Friday. Early this morning, an assailant broke into a Pelosi residence in San Francisco and violently attacked Mr. Pelosi, Pelosi's spokesman Drew Hamill said at the time. I want to remind everybody that this is the result of a fascist doing political violence on a elected official's family that opposes his ideology. This is political violence, plain and simple. This is political terrorism done by the right wing, plain and simple. And calling it anything else is either a miscarriage of the truth or a deliberate and willful misdirection. So, punch Nazis, I guess.